Hi there. Are you ready to relax and fall asleep? Let me tell you a little story to help you drift off peacefully. The campaign against Zhengbu was swift, but it wasn't a contest of brute force. Zicao, Eva, the strategist, used his mind. He brilliantly lured Zhengbu's forces into treacherous marshlands, effectively cutting off their supply lines. Then, under the cloak of night, he launched a surprise attack. The victory was absolute. His soldiers roared his name, but Zicao claimed no personal glory. He returned to the palace, knelt before the throne, and presented his battle report with quiet dignity. The Emperor, Chun Xian, said nothing at first. He descended from the dais, walked to Zicao, and lifted him to his feet. He whispered, "You kept your word. Now it is my turn." From that day forward, Han Zicao was no longer a mere servant. He was granted a command, given real authority, and seated among the highest ministers of the court. But in Chun Xian's heart, Zicao was more than just a general. In a court of thousands, he was the only one who made the emperor feel a little less alone. Following the stunning triumph over Zhengbu, Han Zicao's name echoed throughout the court and the capital. Once a nameless wine server, he had transformed into one of the emperor's most trusted commanders. But his meteoric rise stirred deep unease among the established elite. Chun Xian, now officially Emperor Wen of Chen, made no effort to conceal his favor. He showered Zicao with generous rewards and granted him access to high councils, a privilege unheard of for someone of such low birth. To the public, it looked like blatant favoritism. To the powerful ministers, it was a direct threat to their status and the established order. But for Emperor Wen, it was simply unwavering trust. A trust born not from lineage or rank, but from shared hardships, rain-soaked nights, loyalty forged on the battlefield, and silent, understanding glances. Zicao, for his part, understood his precarious position. He never acted above his station, never spoke out of turn in the grand halls of power. Yet, his very humility seemed to deepen the suspicion around him. The whispers began to poison the air of the court. Rumors spread like wildfire through the palace corridors. Han Zicao has bewitched the emperor, they said. He's a social climber, seeking power for himself. The emperor is forsaking the realm for his personal affection. The pressure was mounting. One day, Zicao entered the emperor's private study and, without uttering a single word, dropped to his knees. Emperor Wen looked up from his documents, surprised. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Your Majesty," Zicao began, his voice steady, "I request to be stationed at the frontier." The emperor paused, his brush hovering over the parchment. After a long moment, he set it down, walked over, and once again lifted Zicao to his feet. "Why?" he asked, his voice soft but firm. "Because," Zicao replied, looking down, "I do not wish for you to be harmed because of me." The emperor's expression hardened slightly. "Do you think I am so weak that mere gossip could shake me?" Zicao finally met his gaze. "No, Your Majesty, but I do not want you to be forced to choose between me and the Empire." Emperor Wen gazed into Zicao's eyes. He saw pain there, but it wasn't the sting of slander. It was a fear that the one he cared for most might suffer because of their bond. In that instant, the Emperor understood. Their connection had long transcended that of master and servant. It had crossed the rigid boundaries of ritual and politics. "I will not let you go," the Emperor stated, his voice leaving no room for argument. "But," Zicao started to protest. "No buts." Emperor Wen cut him off. "You are mine. If the world refuses to accept you, then I will make the world accept you." Zicao lowered his head, saying nothing more. But inside, a hairline fracture had formed in his heart. He knew, with a painful certainty, that no matter how deep their bond ran, it now stood on the edge of a precipice, threatened by the crushing weight of power and prejudice. With the end of the conflict, the Chang court entered a period of relative peace. The chaos of war faded into memory. The borders were quiet, and the people slowly returned to the rhythms of their daily lives. Within the opulent palace, golden light bathed the dragon throne in splendor. But in Emperor Wen's heart, there remained a void that no military triumph or political victory could ever fill. It was a void shaped like and named Han Zicao. Zicao remained by the Emperor's side. As always, he was still the one who understood him best, the one who could anticipate his needs and keep the complex machinery of the Empire running smoothly, often without a single word being exchanged. Yet, between them, something lingered. Something unspoken. A truth they both knew intimately, but neither dared to name. It hung in the air, a silent testament to a love that couldn't be. One early autumn night, a gentle breeze swept through the stone corridors of the palace. Moonlight shimmered over the still, dark water of the lotus pond. Emperor Wen dismissed all of his attendants, keeping only Zicao by his side. They sat facing each other, surrounded by nothing but the whisper of falling leaves and the soft ripple of water. "Have you ever wondered," the Emperor finally asked, breaking the long silence, "if I were not a ruler, and you not a subject, how different things might be?" Zicao was silent for a long time. The question hung between them, heavy with unspoken possibilities. At last, he replied, his voice barely a whisper. "I've never dared to think of it." "Why not?" The Emperor pressed gently. Zicao looked out at the moonlit water. "Because once a thought like that is allowed to exist, it can never be undone." Emperor Wen gazed at Zicao, his eyes filled with a quiet sorrow, a yearning he had suppressed for years, a love that had never been given a name. He rose, walked over to Zicao, and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "I once wished," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "to make you my empress." Zicao's eyes widened in shock, a mixture of disbelief and raw fear. "Your Majesty, you cannot... ... Double quotes, I know," the Emperor interrupted softly. "I know I cannot, but I wanted to." Zicao's composure finally broke. "If you were to do that, the realm would fall into chaos. The court would revolt. You would lose everything." The Emperor looked at him, his gaze unwavering. "I do not fear losing everything. I only fear losing you." Zicao bowed his head, his hands clenched into tight fists. He did not cry, but inside, it felt as though 1,000 needles were piercing his heart. He had loved this man for so long. He knew that, but he also knew, with brutal clarity, that a love like theirs could never survive in the harsh light of day. "I cannot be your empress," Zicao said, his voice trembling slightly. "But I can be the one who stays beside you, even if it is only in the shadows." Emperor said nothing more. He simply pulled Zicao into an embrace. It was an embrace without ceremony, without power, stripped of their titles and duties. It was just two souls, two hearts, and a profound love buried deep beneath a lifetime of silence. Many centuries later, during an archaeological excavation, a unique tomb was unearthed. Inside a single burial chamber, archaeologists were surprised to find two skeletons lying side by side. After careful study of the artifacts and inscriptions, the tomb was identified as that of Chungxian, known to history as Emperor Wen of Chen. And the other skeleton belonged to his most trusted general, Han Zicao. Born and bound together in an era where love between two men was condemned and misunderstood, they must have endured unimaginable ridicule and sorrow, suffering in a silence that we can only now begin to comprehend. Only in death, in the quiet darkness of the earth, were they finally allowed to rest side by side, together for eternity. Thank you for listening. I hope this story has brought you a moment of peace.